Tems makes history at the 2025 Grammys, Nigeria's groundbreaking win in Best African Music Performance. Welcome to the Bold African Voice, BAV, your go-to platform for in-depth analysis, critical insights, and the latest developments in African music and culture. I'm Abdul Karim Kargbo, born and raised in Africa. Today, we're diving into Tems' historic win at the 2025 Grammy Awards, where she became the first Nigerian artist to win the Best African Music Performance Award. Let's explore what this monumental achievement means for her career, for Nigeria, and for the global music scene. Temilade Openiyi, known professionally as Tems, has made history by winning the Best African Music Performance Award at the 67th Annual Grammy Awards held on February 2, 2025, at the Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles. Her song, Me JeJe, featured on her debut album Born in the Wild, secured the accolade, marking a significant milestone for Nigerian artists at the Grammys. Historical context and significance. The Best African Music Performance category was introduced at the 66th Annual Grammy Awards in 2024, with South African artist Tyla winning the inaugural award for her hit Water. Tems' victory in 2025 underscores the growing recognition of African music on the global stage and highlights the increasing influence of Nigerian artists in international music circles. Tems' career trajectory. Tems' journey from her 2020 debut EP For Broken Ears to her 2024 album Born in the Wild reflects her evolution as an artist. Her collaboration with Wizkid on Essence garnered international acclaim, earning a Grammy nomination for Best Global Music Performance. In 2023, she won the Best Melodic Rap Performance Grammy for her contribution to Future's Wait for You. Her 2024 album Born in the Wild debuted at number 56 on the US Billboard 200, becoming the highest charting album by a Nigerian female artist. Critical analysis of Me JeJe. Me JeJe is an interpolation of Seyi Sodomu's 1997 track, reimagined within the Afrobeats genre. Tems' rendition introduces a contemporary flair, blending traditional Nigerian sounds with modern R&B elements. The song's success at the Grammys highlights the global appeal of Afrobeats and the innovative ways artists are revitalizing classic Nigerian music. Comparison with other African artists. Tems' Grammy win places her alongside other Nigerian artists who have achieved international recognition. Burna Boy's 2021 Grammy for Best Global Music Album with Twice as Tall and Wizkid's 2022 nomination for Made in Lagos exemplify the global reach of Nigerian music. Tems' success in the Best African Music Performance category further solidifies Nigeria's prominence in the global music industry. Forward-looking perspective. The increasing success of Nigerian artists at international awards ceremonies suggests a promising future for African music on the global stage. Tems' achievements may inspire emerging artists across the continent, fostering a more diverse and inclusive music industry. The recognition of African music at prestigious events like the Grammys is expected to continue, highlighting the rich cultural tapestry and musical innovation emerging from Africa. Latest developments. Following her Grammy win, Tems has announced plans for a global tour to promote Born in the Wild. The album's success has led to increased international interest, with collaborations and performances lined up in various countries. Tems' influence is expanding beyond music, as she engages in philanthropic efforts aimed at supporting young artists in Nigeria and across Africa. Tems' Grammy win is a landmark achievement for Nigerian and African music, reflecting the genre's growing global influence and the talent emerging from the continent. Her success story continues to inspire and pave the way for future generations of African artists. The rise of Afrobeats and its global impact. Tems' Grammy victory is not just a personal triumph, but also a win for the broader Afrobeats movement. Afrobeats, a genre that blends highlife, hip-hop, and Afrobeat among other musical influences, has rapidly gained international recognition. The genre has moved beyond niche popularity to become a dominant force in global music charts. Nigerian artists like Burna Boy, Wizkid, and Davido have already paved the way for Afrobeats acceptance globally, with massive collaborations with international artists such as Beyoncé, Drake, and Justin Bieber. Afrobeats has been instrumental in shifting the global conversation about African music from a largely local context to a more international one. With more recognition and success at global events such as the Grammys, African artists are now seen as a force to reckon with on the international stage, with their influence extending into fashion, film, and business. Tems' win represents not just the evolution of Afrobeats, but also the broader wave of African sounds making waves across the world. Her ability to blend R&B with African rhythms has contributed to the expansion of Afrobeats' global appeal. In fact, her genre-defying approach is helping to redefine what African music can sound like and where it can go, as it fuses traditional Nigerian sounds with Western influences in a way that appeals to audiences across cultures. The role of collaboration in African music collaboration has played a critical role in the success of African artists in the international arena. Tems' collaborations with international stars such as Drake, Future, and Wizkid have allowed her music to reach diverse audiences, while also creating a melting pot of musical styles. As Afrobeats continues to gain international momentum, the role of collaborations in elevating the genre cannot be overstated. Burna Boy's Grammy win in 2021 for Best Global Music Album with Twice as Tall highlighted the increasing prominence of African artists in international music spaces. The collaboration between African artists and global musicians has become a key strategy in expanding the reach of African music. Through these partnerships, African artists have not only gained exposure, but have also elevated their craft to be more accessible to Western audiences, many of whom may not have previously engaged with African music. Tems' own collaboration with Drake and Future on Wait for You opened doors to her Grammy nomination in 2023. Despite her loss in the R&B category this year, it shows that the Grammy Committee is becoming more open to global sounds. With the growing number of African artists nominated and winning Grammy Awards, it seems that this trend will only continue to grow. A changing landscape for African Music Awards. As African artists continue to shine on the international stage, it's crucial to look at how African Music Awards have evolved to keep pace with this new global recognition. With the emergence of the Best African Music Performance category at the Grammys in 2024, there is an undeniable acknowledgement of African artists' contribution to world music. In addition to the Grammy Awards, African artists now have opportunities to be recognized at home and abroad. The African Music Awards, AFRIMAs, and the Sound City MVP Awards have also gained prominence as platforms that celebrate African talent. These awards provide a space for local talent to gain recognition, but with the increasing international exposure of African artists, the question remains, how can African Music Awards stay relevant in a globalized music market? They must not only acknowledge the continent's talent, but also create systems that support artists beyond the stage, such as in career development, branding, and global partnerships. The Grammy success of Tems is also a testament to the value of international awards for the African music ecosystem. These global accolades can attract sponsorships, new listeners, and greater investment, which is crucial for developing a sustainable music industry on the continent. African artists need these kinds of global platforms to expand their careers and secure deals with international labels and companies. The business of African music, from local to global. The rise of Afrobeats is also indicative of the growing potential for business in the African music industry. African artists now see a market not only within their home countries, but across the globe. This shift in mindset has led to increasing interest from multinational companies looking to tap into the rapidly expanding African entertainment sector. Tems' Grammy win further elevates the growing demand for African music. More brands are beginning to realize that African music isn't just a cultural phenomenon, but a major economic player. Companies like Pepsi, Puma, and Nike have all recognized the influence of African artists in pop culture and have inked deals with high-profile musicians. These collaborations provide artists with larger platforms while simultaneously opening doors for brands to connect with the young, vibrant, and influential African audience. The success of Tems, Burna Boy, and others provides a clear roadmap for how African music can be integrated into mainstream entertainment, fashion, and business. It also creates more economic opportunities for the African diaspora, allowing them to tap into a growing entertainment market while supporting and nurturing the next generation of African musicians. Looking ahead, the future of African music at the Grammys. Tems' success at the Grammys in 2025 is only the beginning of a larger movement that showcases Africa's musical diversity and richness. With more categories likely to be introduced in future years, African artists are well positioned to continue expanding their influence. As more musicians from Africa get recognized and win awards, the global music industry will likely see even more integration of African sounds. In the coming years, artists from across the continent, especially those from underrepresented regions, may begin to see their efforts rewarded. If the Grammy Awards continue to prioritize African talent, more nominations and wins in categories like Best Global Music Album and Song of the Year may follow. Moreover, the critical acclaim and growing international interest in African music could encourage more Western artists to collaborate with African musicians, further driving cross-cultural exchanges. Such collaborations will continue to diversify the global music scene, offering fresh perspectives and musical styles that will shape the future of global sound. Tems' Grammy win represents a critical moment in the continued global recognition of African music. It's a win for Nigeria, for Africa, and for the future of African artistry on the world stage. With more African artists breaking barriers, the journey for greater recognition and success has only just begun. The impact on African youth and aspiring musicians. Tems' victory at the 2025 Grammys will undoubtedly have a profound impact on young aspiring musicians across Africa. Her rise from an up-and-coming artist to a Grammy winner is a testament to the power of perseverance, talent, and hard work. Tems' journey serves as a beacon of hope for young musicians, especially in Nigeria, where the music scene is highly competitive. Her success will encourage many to pursue their dreams, knowing that it is possible to achieve global recognition despite the challenges that come with the industry. For African youth, particularly those from underprivileged backgrounds, Tems' achievement sends a powerful message: dreams are valid. By dedicating her Grammy win to her mother and the team that supported her, Tems highlights the importance of community and family in the journey to success. This resonates deeply with many young African musicians who often face financial hardships and lack of resources but are determined to succeed. Moreover, Tems' success encourages an entrepreneurial mindset within the African music industry. As more young artists break into the international scene, there will be an increasing need for professional music management, marketing strategies, and cross-border collaborations. Aspiring African musicians will be more inclined to focus on honing their craft, while also leveraging digital platforms and social media to gain exposure and build a global fan base. The role of streaming platforms in amplifying African music. Another key factor in the rise of African music, including Tems' success, is the role of streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube. These platforms have significantly reshaped the global music industry, providing African artists with the ability to reach audiences beyond their local borders. Streaming services allow for a more direct connection between artists and listeners, democratizing access to music and making it easier for fans worldwide to discover African talent. Tems, like many contemporary African artists, has successfully leveraged these platforms to build a global following. Born in the Wild found its way to global charts, with tracks like Me JeJe streaming millions of times across the world. The visibility provided by these platforms plays a crucial role in the global recognition of African artists, allowing for music to be shared and consumed globally. In addition, the success of Nigerian artists like Tems, Burna Boy, and Wizkid is fueling the demand for African content on global streaming services. As these platforms continue to expand into African markets, African artists will find new opportunities to connect with a diverse and ever-growing audience. With increasing investment in local content from platforms such as Netflix, Apple Music, and Spotify, the African music scene is set to continue its upward trajectory. The African diaspora's influence on global music trends. Another dimension to consider is the influence of the African diaspora on the global music landscape. Artists like Tems, who represent a fusion of African roots with Western music genres, are helping to create a more dynamic and diverse global sound. The African diaspora, especially in the United States, has played a crucial role in the global spread of African music, with artists drawing inspiration from both their heritage and the cultures in which they have grown up. Tems' career, marked by her collaborations with international artists like Drake and Future, is reflective of the impact that the African diaspora has had on reshaping global music trends. These collaborations not only open up new markets for African artists, but also introduce African sounds to Western audiences in a way that feels fresh and exciting. As the African diaspora continues to influence global music, the impact of African culture on global pop culture will only grow. From fashion and film to music and art, African creativity is being celebrated worldwide. and African artists are at the forefront of this cultural revolution. Tems, as part of this movement, exemplifies the power of cross-cultural exchange in shaping the future of global entertainment. The future of African music and cultural exports. Looking ahead, the future of African music seems poised for continued global success. As African artists continue to break into international markets, there will likely be an increased demand for African talent across various entertainment sectors. Beyond music, Africa's cultural industries, including fashion, film, and television, will increasingly be recognized as key drivers of global cultural trends. Tems' Grammy win is part of a larger movement toward the mainstream recognition of African artistry. With the global success of Afrobeats, there is growing interest in African culture, leading to increased investments in African artists and cultural exports. The African Union has recognized the importance of the creative industries as key drivers of economic development, and as these industries grow, so too will the global influence of African art and music. As African countries continue to focus on the development of their entertainment industries, artists like Tems will be seen as leaders who have paved the way for future generations. The expanding role of digital platforms, alongside increased recognition from global award shows like the Grammys, positions African music to continue its global domination. Tems' historic Grammy win is not just a personal milestone, but a reflection of the ongoing transformation in the African music industry. With an ever-expanding global audience, Africa's role in shaping the future of world music is undeniable. The growing recognition of African talent, coupled with the cultural and commercial potential of the continent, sets the stage for a bright future for African music on the world stage. Tems, along with other artists like Burna Boy, Wizkid, and Asake, is helping to shape the future of music and entertainment globally, and the journey is just beginning. The intersection of African music and global trends. As African music continues to make significant strides globally, it intersects with a wide array of global trends, including the growing demand for diversity, inclusivity, and cross-cultural collaboration in the entertainment industry. Tems' Grammy win symbolizes this larger shift, as her genre-blending style appeals not only to African audiences, but also to listeners in the Americas, Europe, and beyond. The success of Afrobeats and other African genres highlights a broader cultural movement towards embracing diverse musical traditions. Artists from different parts of the world, including Latin America, Europe, and Asia, are increasingly influenced by African rhythms and sounds. The crossover appeal of Afrobeats reflects a growing global appetite for music that transcends regional boundaries and offers fresh, innovative sounds. The global appeal of African music is also driving the popularity of African collaborations with international stars. For instance, Tems' work with Drake, Future, and Wizkid has solidified her position as an artist who can bridge the gap between cultures. These collaborations not only expand her reach but also reflect the seamless fusion of African and Western music elements that resonates with fans worldwide. The cross-pollination of musical genres is bringing new life to global pop music and enriching the soundscape of contemporary music. In this new age of global music, the boundaries between what constitutes global music and local music are blurring. The rising prominence of African music, especially through platforms like YouTube, Apple Music, and Spotify, enables artists to share their stories and sounds with an international audience without the traditional barriers imposed by geography and industry gatekeepers. In this sense, Tems' Grammy win is a reflection of a larger trend that emphasizes the global exchange of musical influences and cultural ideas. The role of African music in shaping global fashion and lifestyle. The rise of African artists such as Tems has also had a profound influence on global fashion and lifestyle trends. In recent years, there has been a marked shift towards African-inspired fashion, with designers, stylists, and brands incorporating African prints, textiles, and styles into their collections. As African artists continue to gain global recognition, their influence extends beyond music into various aspects of pop culture, including fashion, beauty, and lifestyle. Tems' style, often a blend of traditional African wear and modern influences, has made her a fashion icon in her own right. Her fashion choices, which reflect both her Nigerian heritage and her global persona, have resonated with fans across the world. Just as her music transcends cultural boundaries, her style is a symbol of the fusion of African traditions and contemporary trends. With her Grammy win, she further establishes herself as a cultural ambassador, representing African excellence in both music and fashion. African-inspired fashion has found a prominent place on global runways and in mainstream media, with fashion designers from across the continent gaining international recognition. The increasing presence of African fashion at global events such as Paris Fashion Week and New York Fashion Week, coupled with the growing popularity of Afrobeats and other African genres, signifies the larger role that African culture plays in shaping global trends. As African music continues to rise, its influence on global fashion and lifestyle will likely continue to grow. The next wave of African artists will likely find their place not only on music charts, but also in the pages of global fashion magazines and on the runways of top designers. Tems' Grammy win marks the intersection of these cultural movements, where music, fashion, and lifestyle converge to create a powerful global presence for African culture. The political and economic influence of African music. Tems' success also signals a deeper political and economic shift for Africa. As African music continues to gain prominence globally, it serves as a powerful tool for soft power, shaping the continent's image on the world stage. Music has long been a form of political expression, and as African artists continue to make waves internationally, they are helping to change the narrative about Africa. Tems' Grammy victory is an example of how African artists are asserting their influence not just in the music industry, but in broader cultural and political discussions. Through their success, these artists are challenging stereotypes and offering a new narrative of Africa, one that is dynamic, innovative, and integral to global culture. The success of artists like Tems, Burna Boy, and Wizkid helps to dismantle the outdated perceptions of Africa that have long persisted in the global imagination. Moreover, the global success of African artists is also opening up new economic opportunities for the continent. The growing recognition of African music creates a ripple effect, impacting various industries, from fashion and tourism to media and entertainment. The rise of African music festivals, concerts, and events further drives economic growth, with tourism to African countries increasing as fans travel to experience the music and culture firsthand. African music is becoming an increasingly important export, generating revenue for the continent and providing new job opportunities within the music industry. As more African artists achieve global recognition, the demand for African music will continue to fuel economic development and cultural exchange. In this sense, the success of artists like Tems is not only a victory for the music industry, but also a catalyst for broader economic and political change across the continent. The continuing evolution of African music and the global stage. As we look to the future, the evolution of African music and its continued rise on the global stage seem assured. Artists like Tems, Burna Boy, and Wizkid have proven that African music is not a passing trend, but a movement that is reshaping the global soundscape. The success of Afrobeats in particular shows the staying power of African genres, and their continued fusion with global sounds will likely lead to even more groundbreaking music. The introduction of the Best African Music Performance category at the Grammys was a landmark moment for African music. However, it also signals that the recognition of African artists is still in its early stages. As the music industry continues to evolve, we can expect to see more categories and awards that celebrate African artists and their contributions to global culture. In the coming years, we may also see the expansion of African music across other media platforms, such as film and television. African music has already found its way into Hollywood movies, television shows, and advertisements, and the success of African artists is likely to further open doors for the continent's entertainment industry. Just as Tems has crossed over into the global music scene, other African musicians may soon find themselves starring in international films, television series, and commercials, further cementing Africa's place on the global stage. Tems' Grammy win is a powerful reflection of the changing tides in global music and culture. As African music continues to break barriers and gain global recognition, the future looks bright for African artists and the broader African entertainment industry. With more artists following in Tems' footsteps, we are witnessing the dawn of a new era for African music, one that is defined by innovation, collaboration, and global influence. The world is ready for the next wave of African talent, and Tems has firmly established herself as one of the leaders of this movement. The influence of African music on global music genres. Tems' Grammy win serves as a powerful testament to the influence of African music on other global genres. As African artists continue to shape global music trends, the fusion of Afrobeats, hip-hop, R&B, and pop is becoming increasingly common, influencing artists across the world. This global cross-pollination of musical styles is expanding the boundaries of what is considered mainstream, making room for diverse sounds that previously may have been marginalized. Afrobeats is having an outsized impact on genres such as pop and hip-hop, with artists like Drake, Beyoncé, and Justin Bieber incorporating African sounds into their music. These collaborations signal the growing recognition of African music not just as a trend, but as a powerful and enduring genre that continues to evolve and influence the broader music landscape. Tems' success in the Grammy's Best African Music Performance category highlights her position at the forefront of this musical revolution. The rise of African music globally is also creating new opportunities for other genres such as Afrofusion, Afropop, and even Afro-soul. These subgenres are gaining traction worldwide, attracting fans who are eager to explore the diverse sounds of African music beyond Afrobeats. As the global music market becomes more open to African sounds, the influence of African music on other genres will only continue to grow, further enriching the musical experience for listeners worldwide. The power of African storytelling through music. One of the unique aspects of African music is its ability to tell compelling stories that resonate with listeners across cultural boundaries. For Tems, her Grammy-winning song Me JeJe is not only a musical achievement, but also an example of the power of African storytelling through music. Songs like Me JeJe transcend language and geography, capturing universal emotions such as love, vulnerability, and longing, while still retaining a distinctly African cultural essence. As African artists continue to share their stories, they play a crucial role in shaping the narrative about African identity on the world stage. Through their lyrics, African musicians convey stories that reflect their community's struggles, hopes, and dreams. These personal and cultural narratives resonate with audiences from all over the world, providing them with a window into the complexities of African life. For many fans, Tems' music represents a bridge between the global and the local, bringing a deeper understanding of African culture and history. Moreover, African artists like Tems often infuse their work with a sense of resilience and empowerment, challenging the status quo and inspiring change. This spirit of activism and social justice through music has long been a feature of African musical traditions, from the liberation songs of the 1960s to the contemporary anthems of artists today. By continuing to tell these powerful stories, African musicians contribute to the global dialogue about race, inequality, and justice, while also advocating for cultural preservation and empowerment. The expansion of African music festivals and live performances. As the international demand for African music continues to rise, so too does the growth of African music festivals and live performances across the world. In recent years, events like the Afrobeat Festival in London, the Global Citizen Festival, and Afropunk have attracted thousands of fans eager to experience African music live. These festivals are not just about entertainment, they also serve as platforms for cultural exchange, as they bring together artists and audiences from different parts of the world. Tems' Grammy win and her growing international fame will likely lead to more high-profile live performances and festival appearances, both in Africa and abroad. Her growing influence is likely to inspire other African artists to tour internationally, further expanding the global presence of African music. With African music becoming more mainstream, festivals dedicated to showcasing African talent will become even more significant, helping to bridge the gap between artists and their fans. The expansion of African music festivals and live performances also has a direct economic impact. These events create jobs in event planning, marketing, logistics, and security, while also boosting the local economy through tourism and hospitality. As more African artists perform internationally, they are helping to boost the global recognition of African culture, creating opportunities for collaboration and economic growth both within Africa and across the globe. The growing role of African music in the film and television industry. Another area where African music is gaining significant ground is in the film and television industry. As the entertainment industry continues to globalize, African music is increasingly being incorporated into film soundtracks, television shows, and commercials. This trend is part of a larger cultural shift, where African talent is not only influencing music, but also the visual and cinematic arts. Tems' Grammy win is likely to increase her presence in other sectors of the entertainment industry, including film and television. Her distinct sound and the emotional depth of her music make her an ideal candidate for soundtracks in both Hollywood and African films. The rise of African cinema, alongside the increasing prominence of African music, signals that the two industries will continue to grow together, mutually benefiting from each other's success. African artists are also becoming more involved in the production and curation of global content, with many of them contributing to soundtracks for popular series on Netflix, Amazon Prime, and other streaming platforms. This convergence of African music and film further strengthens the global impact of African culture, allowing for even more cross-industry collaborations. The future of African music industry infrastructure. As African artists achieve global success, it is crucial to consider the infrastructure that supports the music industry within Africa. While artists like Tems, Burna Boy, and Wizkid have found global recognition, there is still a significant need for more robust infrastructure in Africa to support emerging talent. From better recording facilities and music education to stronger copyright enforcement and more opportunities for international collaboration, the music industry in Africa must continue to evolve in order to keep pace with its rising stars. Investing in the music infrastructure will ensure that more African artists have the resources they need to thrive both locally and globally. It will also help to protect the intellectual property of artists, ensuring that their work is properly credited and financially rewarded. In addition to this, greater investments in digital platforms and distribution channels will enable more African music to reach global audiences, making the music industry more sustainable for the long term. As we look to the future, the global music landscape is evolving, and Africa is becoming an increasingly integral part of this transformation. Tems' Grammy win is just one milestone in a much larger movement that is reshaping the global music industry. With continued support for African artists, both within Africa and on the international stage, the future of African music is poised for even greater success and influence. African music and its socio-economic impact. The success of African artists like Tems at international events such as the Grammys has far-reaching socio-economic implications for the continent. As African music gains global recognition, it drives not only cultural exchange, but also generates significant economic opportunities. The increased attention on African artists allows for greater tourism and investment in local economies, especially in countries like Nigeria, South Africa, and Kenya, where music and entertainment are central to the cultural landscape. Tems' Grammy win and her growing international profile will likely lead to increased investments in the Nigerian entertainment industry. In turn, this could create jobs for people working in music production, event management, marketing, and media. The rise of the African music industry has already begun to contribute to broader economic growth on the continent, with the music sector estimated to contribute billions of dollars annually to Africa's GDP. The ripple effect of African music's success is not limited to the music industry alone. It has the potential to stimulate other industries such as fashion, technology, and even education. African music festivals and concerts attract tourists from all over the world, generating revenue for local businesses, hotels, restaurants, and transportation providers. These events also provide a platform for local artisans and entrepreneurs to showcase their products, creating a more diversified economy around the arts and culture sector. The influence of African music also extends to fashion, where traditional African designs and contemporary styles are gaining global popularity. Artists like Tems, with her unique sense of fashion that blends modern and traditional African aesthetics, are setting trends that inspire designers worldwide. This convergence of music and fashion further strengthens the economic impact of African artists, as it opens up new markets and opportunities for African creatives across multiple industries. Empowerment through representation in the global music market. One of the most profound aspects of African artists' increasing success is the empowerment of marginalized communities across the continent. For many years, African music and culture were often underrepresented or misrepresented in the global media. However, with the rise of stars like Tems, Burna Boy, and Wizkid, African music is becoming a tool for cultural empowerment, allowing Africans to see themselves represented on the world stage in a more authentic and positive light. Tems' Grammy win is a powerful reminder of how far African music has come in terms of global acceptance and recognition. This success has the potential to inspire future generations of African musicians, showing them that their voices can be heard and appreciated worldwide. For African youth, especially those in underprivileged communities, seeing artists like Tems achieve international recognition can be a source of inspiration, motivating them to pursue their own dreams despite the challenges they may face. Moreover, African artists' success on the world stage contributes to the decolonization of global cultural narratives. African music, often steeped in centuries of rich traditions, is now positioned as a leading force in shaping the future of global entertainment. This reassertion of African identity and cultural pride is vital in challenging the historical erasure of African contributions to world culture and is a significant step toward fostering a more inclusive and equitable global cultural landscape. The rise of African music labels and the need for artist support. As African music continues to dominate international charts, there is a growing need for infrastructure that can support the emerging talent on the continent. Tems' success highlights the gap between the massive potential of African music and the current limitations in the industry, especially when it comes to artist development and rights protection. For African artists to continue breaking into the global market, it is essential that African music labels, production companies, and legal frameworks evolve to meet the demands of the international music industry. While there has been progress in these areas, more investments are needed in areas such as artist management, music publishing, and intellectual property rights. This will ensure that African artists receive the recognition and financial compensation they deserve for their work. In addition to better support for artists, there is also a need for more training and education in the music industry. Music academies and programs focusing on music production, songwriting, and business management are critical in developing the next generation of African artists who can not only perform, but also manage their careers and brand on a global scale. Furthermore, the role of African music labels in promoting the work of emerging artists is crucial. Labels that understand both local and international markets are essential in helping African musicians navigate the complexities of global distribution, marketing, and branding. The success of labels such as Universal Music Africa, Chocolate City Music, and others that have nurtured and promoted African artists has played a significant role in their rise to international prominence. However, for the music industry to truly thrive, smaller, independent labels also need to be supported, as they often work with emerging and niche talent that could make a significant impact. Collaborative potential, African artists and the global music industry. Another key aspect of the continued success of African music is the potential for further collaborations between African artists and their counterparts in other regions of the world. These collaborations not only expand African music's reach, but also create new hybrid sounds that resonate with diverse audiences. The success of collaborations between artists like Burna Boy and Stormzy, Wizkid and Drake, or Tems and Future demonstrates the possibilities for creative partnerships that blend African sounds with Western styles. The growing popularity of Afrobeats is pushing the boundaries of traditional genre classifications, making room for a more fluid and inclusive music scene where artists from different parts of the world are free to experiment and innovate. African artists who are known for their genre-defying approach to music are leading the charge in creating new musical hybrids that defy expectations and challenge the status quo. This collaborative spirit is likely to continue as African artists continue to work with musicians from various backgrounds and genres. The next wave of African talent is set to push the limits of music even further, blending African rhythms with global influences, thus contributing to the ever-evolving soundscape of global music. In addition to these musical collaborations, African artists may also become more involved in the global production process, from music videos to live performances and even film production. As African artists like Tems achieve more success, they will undoubtedly influence global music production standards, particularly in terms of incorporating African visuals, sounds, and themes into international media. The success of Tems at the 2025 Grammys is just one chapter in the unfolding story of African music on the world stage. The increasing recognition of African artists not only reflects the growing popularity of their music, but also points to the broader shifts occurring in the global music industry. The future of African music is bright, and as more artists gain recognition and continue to shape global trends, the world will continue to be enriched by the diversity, creativity, and innovation coming from Africa's music scene. The globalization of African music and its impact on cultural identity. As African music continues to gain global recognition, its influence is shaping not only the music industry, but also the broader cultural identity of Africa. The increasing success of African artists such as Tems, Burna Boy, and Wizkid highlights the shift in how the world views African culture. African music, with its rich history and diverse genres, is being embraced worldwide as a symbol of African pride and resilience. The globalization of African music presents an opportunity to reframe the narrative about Africa. Historically, the continent has been misrepresented in global media, often seen through a lens of poverty, conflict, and underdevelopment. However, the global success of African music is playing a critical role in shifting this perception, showing the world a more dynamic, diverse, and innovative side of the continent. Tems' Grammy win exemplifies how African artists are not only showcasing their talents but also representing the culture and stories of Africa on a global stage. Through their music, African artists are reshaping the global narrative about the continent, offering a more nuanced and complex view of African life and heritage. As more African artists continue to make waves internationally, their success is fostering a sense of pride and solidarity among African communities around the world. The role of African music in social change. African music has long been a vehicle for social change, serving as a powerful tool for political activism and cultural expression. From the anti-apartheid songs of the 1980s to the politically charged anthems of today, African music has played an integral role in shaping the social and political landscape of the continent. Today's African musicians, including Tems, continue this legacy by using their platforms to address important social issues, from gender inequality to economic empowerment. For Tems, music has been a way to express her personal experiences and connect with her listeners on a deep emotional level. Her Grammy-winning song, Me JeJe, speaks to the complexities of love and vulnerability, while her larger body of work often touches on themes of resilience, empowerment, and self-discovery. As more African artists gain international recognition, their voices will continue to be a powerful force for change, both within Africa and globally. In the current political climate, African musicians are also increasingly using their platforms to address issues such as corruption, political unrest, and social justice. Music has always reflected society, and as African artists become more prominent on the global stage, their ability to use music as a tool for social commentary is growing. These musicians are not only entertaining, but also educating and inspiring change, using their art to speak truth to power. The challenge of maintaining authenticity in the face of globalization. While the globalization of African music has brought about significant opportunities, it also presents challenges. As African artists continue to gain international success, they must navigate the complexities of maintaining their cultural authenticity while adapting to the global market. Tems, like many of her peers, has managed to blend traditional African sounds with global influences, creating a style that resonates with both local and international audiences. However, as African music continues to gain mainstream success, there is a risk of commercialization that could dilute its original essence. The pressure to conform to Western standards of music production and aesthetics is something that many African artists face as they cross over into global markets. While collaborations with international artists can help African musicians reach a wider audience, there is a fine line between artistic expression and cultural appropriation. As African music continues to infiltrate Western markets, it is crucial that artists and industry stakeholders ensure that the cultural integrity of African music is preserved. At the same time, the global reach of African music provides an opportunity for African artists to reclaim their narrative and assert ownership over their culture. By maintaining a strong connection to their roots and embracing their African identity, artists like Tems can continue to showcase the richness and diversity of African music without compromising its authenticity. The growing demand for African music worldwide highlights the importance of supporting artists who stay true to their cultural heritage, ensuring that African music continues to thrive and evolve while remaining grounded in its origins. The future of African music and its place in global music history. As the influence of African music continues to expand, it is important to look at where the genre is headed in the future. The rise of Afrobeats and other African genres is just the beginning, and the next decade will likely see even greater global recognition for African artists. The Grammy wins of artists like Tems and Burna Boy are just the start of a much larger movement, with many more African artists poised to break into the international music scene. One area where African music is poised to have a major impact is in the realm of live performances and festivals. As the demand for African music grows, we are likely to see more international festivals dedicated to showcasing African talent, as well as African artists headlining major global events. The success of Afrobeats festivals and concerts in cities like London, New York, and Paris is a clear indicator of the global appetite for African music. In the coming years, African artists will continue to take center stage at some of the world's largest music festivals, further solidifying their place in the global music scene. Moreover, as African artists continue to gain international acclaim, their influence will extend beyond music into other sectors of global culture, including film, fashion, and even politics. African artists have already begun to make their mark in the fashion industry, with many incorporating traditional African textiles and styles into their global brand. Similarly, as African music continues to gain mainstream popularity, we may see more African artists taking on roles as cultural ambassadors, representing African culture and influencing global trends in various industries. A new era for African music. The success of artists like Tems at the 2025 Grammys represents a turning point for African music, marking the beginning of a new era in which African artists are recognized not only for their musical talents, but also for their cultural impact. With the continued rise of Afrobeats, the fusion of African music with global genres, and the increasing demand for African culture worldwide, African music is poised to play a central role in the future of global entertainment. As we look to the future, it is important to support and celebrate African artists who continue to push the boundaries of music while staying true to their cultural roots. Tems' Grammy win is a reminder that African music is not only here to stay, but is also reshaping the global music landscape. With the continued success of African artists, the world is becoming more attuned to the unique sounds, stories, and innovations coming from the African continent. In the years to come, we will likely witness an even greater explosion of African talent, as artists like Tems continue to break barriers and pave the way for the next generation of musicians. African music, with its rich diversity and infectious rhythms, will remain a powerful force in shaping the future of global music and culture. The role of digital platforms in expanding African music's global reach. As African music continues to expand on the global stage, the role of digital platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and SoundCloud becomes even more critical. These platforms have transformed how music is distributed, consumed, and shared, providing African artists with the ability to reach global audiences without the traditional barriers of geography and physical distribution. For artists like Tems, these platforms have been instrumental in their rise to international fame. Streaming services enable African artists to connect with fans worldwide, increasing their exposure and fan base beyond their local markets. The success of Tems' Born in the Wild album, and the subsequent Grammy win, was heavily supported by its accessibility on these streaming platforms, where listeners across continents were able to discover and enjoy her music. Moreover, the analytics and data provided by streaming platforms allow artists to better understand their audiences, track their success, and tailor their marketing strategies. This is especially crucial for African musicians who may not have the same level of access to traditional media outlets, such as radio stations and television networks, as their international counterparts. Through platforms like Spotify and YouTube, African artists can self-promote, generate revenue, and collaborate with other artists in ways that were previously impossible. In addition to helping African artists expand their reach, digital platforms are also democratizing the music industry by providing independent artists the tools to create, distribute, and monetize their music without relying on major record labels. This shift is empowering a new generation of African musicians to build sustainable careers, while retaining creative control over their work. As more African musicians embrace these digital tools, we can expect a greater variety of sounds and genres to emerge, further enriching the global music scene. International collaborations and cross-cultural engagement. One of the most exciting aspects of African music's rise to global prominence is the increasing number of collaborations between African artists and international stars. These partnerships are not only driving innovation in music, but also fostering cultural exchange. Artists from different regions are blending their unique sounds, creating music that transcends borders and resonates with a global audience. For Tems, Her collaborations with major artists such as Drake, Future, and Wizkid have been crucial in gaining visibility outside of Africa. These high-profile partnerships have allowed Tems to reach listeners who may not have otherwise discovered her music, while also contributing to the global conversation about the evolving nature of music in the 21st century. The fusion of Afrobeats with genres like hip-hop, R&B, and pop has resulted in fresh, innovative sounds that are captivating listeners worldwide. These collaborations also provide African artists with opportunities to learn from their international counterparts, exposing them to new musical techniques, production styles, and promotional strategies. The cross-pollination of musical cultures is enriching the global music landscape, bringing diverse perspectives into the mainstream. For the international music industry, working with African artists provides a chance to tap into the burgeoning African market, which is expected to grow rapidly in the coming years. As African music becomes more influential, international artists will continue to seek collaborations that allow them to connect with the African audience, opening new doors for mutual growth. Moreover, collaborations can serve as a means of cultural diplomacy, allowing artists to represent their respective countries on the world stage. These cross-cultural partnerships highlight the importance of music as a universal language that brings people together, regardless of their background or nationality. The success of artists like Tems demonstrates the power of music in bridging cultural divides, creating a shared space for listeners to experience and appreciate diverse artistic expressions. The impact of music festivals on African artists. As African artists continue to gain international recognition, music festivals have become an important avenue for them to showcase their talent to global audiences. The rise of African artists on the international festival circuit signals a new era for African music, as it becomes a staple at some of the most prestigious global music events. Festivals such as Coachella, Glastonbury, and Afropunk have featured African artists, and these platforms have provided them with the exposure necessary to reach a wider, more diverse audience. Tems' Grammy win and her growing popularity indicate that her presence at such festivals is increasingly likely. Performances at these major events not only provide artists with the opportunity to showcase their music but also help to solidify their position within the global music industry. In addition to performing, African artists at international festivals also have the chance to network with industry professionals, collaborate with other musicians, and engage in cultural exchange, further raising their global profiles. African music festivals such as the Lagos International Music Festival and the Afronation Festival also play a crucial role in promoting African talent on the world stage. These festivals attract international music fans, giving African artists an opportunity to perform in front of both local and global audiences. By creating a dedicated space for African music, these events are fostering a sense of pride and community among African artists and fans, while also showcasing the diverse talents emerging from the continent. For the African music industry, festivals are an essential part of building a sustainable ecosystem that nurtures talent and fosters global recognition. As the demand for African music continues to grow, these festivals will play an even more significant role in connecting artists with fans and promoting African culture globally. The role of music education and mentorship in the African music scene. As African artists continue to rise to international prominence, there is a growing need for music education and mentorship programs to support the next generation of musicians. While platforms like streaming services and social media provide African artists with the tools to reach global audiences, they are not a substitute for the foundational skills needed to build a successful career in music. Music education programs that focus on both technical skills, such as music production and songwriting, and business acumen, such as marketing, management, and copyright law, are essential for developing a sustainable music industry in Africa. By offering mentorship opportunities from established artists and industry professionals, emerging African musicians can learn how to navigate the complexities of the music business while staying true to their artistic vision. Furthermore, mentorship programs can help young artists build their networks, find opportunities for collaboration, and gain industry insights that will allow them to advance their careers. For African musicians like Tems, mentorship and guidance from other successful artists can provide invaluable support in understanding the challenges and opportunities that come with international success. By investing in music education and mentorship, African countries can create a more robust and sustainable music ecosystem that supports both established and emerging artists. As the global demand for African music continues to rise, it is crucial that African musicians are equipped with the knowledge and resources they need to succeed both locally and internationally. This will ensure that African music remains a dominant force in the global music industry for years to come. African music's global future. Tems' historic Grammy win is not just a personal achievement, but also a milestone for the African music industry. Her success symbolizes the growing global recognition of African music, and it serves as a powerful reminder of the immense talent and creativity that the continent has to offer. As African artists continue to break barriers, both locally and internationally, the global music scene will become an even more vibrant and diverse space. With the rise of digital platforms, international collaborations, and the growing prominence of African music festivals, the future of African music looks incredibly bright. The global influence of African artists like Tems, Burna Boy, and Wizkid will continue to shape the future of music, while also fostering cultural exchange and unity. African music is no longer confined to the local or regional scene. It is now an integral part of the global music conversation. As African music continues to evolve, so too will the opportunities for African artists to share their stories with the world. With increasing support for music education, artist development, and international exposure, the next generation of African musicians will have the tools they need to build successful, sustainable careers. The Grammy win for Tems is just one chapter in the ongoing story of African music's global ascent, and there is much more to come. Sustaining the growth of African music. The growing global influence of African music presents a unique opportunity for African governments and policymakers to support and sustain this cultural revolution. By investing in the infrastructure that supports the music industry, including venues, studios, and educational institutions, African leaders can help ensure that the next generation of musicians has the resources and platforms they need to succeed. Additionally, governments must prioritize policies that protect intellectual property and ensure that artists are fairly compensated for their work. As the global demand for African music continues to rise, it is essential that African artists are not exploited and that their rights are safeguarded in both local and international markets. This includes working with global music organizations to ensure that African music and its creators receive the recognition and royalties they deserve. There is also a need for more investment in digital infrastructure. With many African artists gaining international attention through platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube, it is crucial that African governments and private sector companies work together to build a digital ecosystem that allows artists to thrive. This will provide opportunities for African music to reach an even larger audience, fueling further economic growth and cultural exchange. Advice to African leaders. As African music continues to gain global prominence, it is vital for African leaders to recognize the immense potential of the music industry as a driver of economic growth, cultural exchange, and international influence. To ensure that African music continues its rise on the global stage, it is crucial for leaders to invest in the necessary infrastructure, provide support for artists, and prioritize policies that protect intellectual property. Governments should actively collaborate with industry stakeholders, artists, record labels, production companies, and digital platforms to create an environment where African music can continue to flourish. This includes supporting local festivals, music education programs, and international collaborations that will promote African culture to a wider audience. Furthermore, African leaders should consider the role of music as a tool for diplomacy, using the global success of African artists to enhance the continent's standing on the world stage. By fostering an environment where African music is valued, protected, and promoted, African leaders can help ensure that the continent's cultural capital continues to grow and benefit future generations of musicians. Summary of key messages. Tems' historic Grammy win is a landmark moment for African music, marking the continued rise of African artists on the global stage. The success of African musicians is not just about individual accomplishments, but reflects the broader cultural, economic, and political shifts taking place across the continent. African music, driven by artists like Tems, Burna Boy, and Wizkid, is now recognized as a major global force, influencing trends in music, fashion, and cultural exchange. The growth of African music is supported by the rise of digital platforms, international collaborations, and the expanding presence of African artists at global festivals and award shows. As the world becomes increasingly open to African sounds, it is crucial that African leaders invest in the music industry, protect artists' rights, and build the necessary infrastructure to sustain this growth. The success of African music provides a roadmap for other sectors to follow, showing that with the right support, African creativity can thrive on the global stage. The continued recognition of African music not only enhances the continent's cultural identity, but also contributes to its economic and diplomatic influence. African music is no longer a regional phenomenon, it is a global movement. The Grammy win of artists like Tems marks just one chapter in a much larger narrative of African success in the global entertainment industry. By fostering the growth of this industry and supporting its artists, African leaders have an opportunity to not only preserve Africa's rich cultural heritage, but also build a sustainable, globally recognized music ecosystem for future generations. Thank you for watching. Tems' Grammy victory is a huge milestone for African music, and we're excited to see what the future holds. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth analysis on African culture and music. Drop a comment below with your thoughts on Tems' win and what it means for the future of Afrobeats. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update from the Bold African Voice, BAV. Until next time, stay bold, stay proud, and keep supporting African music.